go to for me, like if I'm filling out a grant, I go on there, I
Yeah,
should get
yeah.
the,
I would like to call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Village of Ortonville regular city council meeting of January 27th, 2024. It is 7 o'clock PM. 25, yeah, we're,
Yeah.
well, we skipped 24, so we can include that. 25, as I'll make my correction.
I did send you a thing, Amber, I don't know if you got it.
Not until today.
Okay, if,
No.
I'd like to ask us all to rise, and our newest member, Eric, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's just the first three words, all you gotta know.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remarkable. Roll call.
Wesenberry,
Here.
Nivelt,
Here?
Brooks,
Here.
Green,
Here.
Hayden,
Here.
Randazzo.
Here.
Falker.
Here.
Okay, number 4, approval of agenda. We have an agenda in front of us with 13 items. Items of note when we approve our agenda is I see a lot of things on here that we did have in our packet. I did get an email from Melanie this afternoon asking that another item be added, and it would be in unfinished business, number 10, I believe.
Yep, 10A.
And would you like to give it a name?
The intergovernmental agreement. I don't know, did you want a table number C or no?
When we get there.
Okay, very good.
Okay, and I'm assuming what she's referring to is between the village and the township, we have lots of overlapping and different projects that somehow seem to meet up and not always lead to conflict, but sometimes they lead to a misunderstanding about whose responsibilities are whose. And to get things in writing, and those are called intergovernmental agreements, that's what our hope to do now is, because we've gotten by over a long number of years with just a lot of things being verbal, and quite often that works, but it doesn't always. And it's in the village's best interest, I believe, to pursue something in writing in terms of any types of actions or projects that we participate in with not only the township, but maybe the fire department or the school district or the library. So these are all agencies of governmental level, and it's important that we understand what everybody's expectations are before we even begin down that path. And that does lead to prevent a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of miscommunication and things of that nature. I know we talked about this for, gosh, at least 3 or 4 years, and it seems to be a tough thing to get started, but I do believe that once it does get started, it's just gonna roll along like it's been around forever. So those are just gonna be some of the priorities, and that's what we're gonna talk about when we get to unfinished business number A. That being said, we're gonna move on to approval of council business.
We have to approve the
I make a
agenda.
motion to
Oh,
approve
yeah,
the
approve the
agenda as
agenda.
modified.
Support.
Okay, those in favor of the new agenda?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the agenda is now complete. Are there any other additions to the agenda that I didn't mention yet? Okay, now approval of council minutes. We have 3 of them here. Regular meeting on November 25th, public hearing on the 25th, and we've apparently had 2 public hearings on the 25th. So all these meetings revolve around the 25th. There's 3 sets of minutes, and if the council approves them, they will become part of the village documents.
Make a motion, we approve the regular minute meetings of November 25th, 2024.
Support.
Moved and supported. Is there any discussion on those?
Yeah, just quick discussion. I do want to commend Amber. It was very thorough, very complete minutes. But I do have a little feedback. For me, when I'm trying to go through and just see what happened, for me, it might be a little more useful to have them a little bit more summarized instead of, straight verbatim. That might be helpful.
You know what? I'll tell you this. I was thinking the exact same.
Me too.
Some of them turn out great where they're just kind of capsulized things of what they said. Others read more like a transcript, like it's for court purposes. So I think the special blend in that is to come up with something where it's summarized, yet when you read it, you can understand what the author was trying to say by it, and it would make it an easier document to read.
Yeah, but I definitely appreciate the completeness of the.
Oh, they're
detail.
complete. It doesn't leave anything out. Okay, with that suggestion, is there any others about those minutes? All those in favor of approving them, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, those minutes are approved. We do have another one, that's number B.
Make a motion to approve the public hearing meeting minutes from November 25th, 2024.
Support.
Okay, any discussion on the public hearing? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and we do also have a C in this category.
Make a motion to approve the public hearing meeting minutes 2 of November 25th, 2024.
Support. Okay. Moved by Larry, supported by Tony. Any further discussion on those public hearing meetings, minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The three items that this council was going to approve tonight have all been approved. Number 6 is acceptance items. These are items that come into the office on a regular course of business, and we don't need to approve them because we weren't really present for any of them, so we can't attest to their accuracy, but we can approve them to become part of our record, so if somebody is looking for it, we have it. And they give it to us out of courtesy so that we can stay informed as to what's going on in their units. The first is the DDA regular meeting minutes of November 18th. The second is the DDA regular minute meetings of December the 16th. The third is IT meeting notes from December 10th, 2024. Finance report 2024 and a December report 2024. Matt, are those the two you just passed out, or are those in the packet already?
They should be the two well, the one was passed out earlier, but yes.
Okay.
They're the two you're referring to that were just passed out.
Yep, okay. Anyway, we can talk about it when it comes up in your manager notes, because I want you to kind of give us a update on the financial situation, so we can refer to them. But at this point, they're just accepted items anyways, and I'm happy to accept them.
Can I make a comment on DDA minutes?
Yes.
There is a worksheet, and I had emailed to see if we could get that as part of our packet, that they have with all the projects, and they have 22 projects on the list so far. Is there a way that could become part of our packet?
Leanne, I know what she's talking about. She's talking about that list we did. Oh, you brought it. Okay. And I remember us going over it. And it just kind of is it's a gauge for us to see where we're at, what committees need people, which ones are on hold, who's in charge of each one. So it's kind of it's a little bit of a roadmap, and it's a way for us to keep multiple projects in our vision all at the same time without getting bogged down on too many others. So anything the DDA has going, they do pass out a sheet to us that's more of a chart, I suppose, or more of a, it's not in written form, it's, what's that?
The work
Yeah,
plan.
work plan.
And that's what I'm referring to, yeah. The work plan, just so we know. Are you going to be speaking so I can ask questions then? Okay, great, thank you.
Anyway, I find it very useful.
I think it would be great,
Yeah.
yeah.
After we look at it, it might even be something we want to somehow fashion something after, just to keep the many, many irons in the fire all on front and center. Okay, that leads us to approval of disbursements. This month we have 2 because we did not meet in December. So we have approval of disbursements for December and for January.
Can we ask a question, or do you want a motion?
No, I need a
Need the
motion,
motion
then we'll ask a
first.
Make a
question.
motion that we approve the disbursements for 12/15/24 through 1/15/25. Is that?
That's the
I think
second.
Oh, that's separate, I'm sorry, do
That's
the
separate.
first one. The 12/15/24 through 1/15/25.
No.
Oh, I
I
have
mean,
two.
we need
the
to do
same.
the one from
November. Oh, you have the
11:15 to
same? I do.
12:15.
Or you can just say ending December 15th.
Ending December
Actually, I
15th.
don't even have that one. Unless
In the
we
amount of
just get it.
15,000.
Yes. I don't
Okay,
have that.
moved and supported.
And
Somebody had
can
a
we
question.
include the total amount in the motion?
Okay, I
Only have the one.
did receive my copy.
I didn't, I only got
I
mine
got
on
the electronic.
12/15.
Okay, I've
Yeah.
got, this one is $15,374
Yeah.
17 cents, yeah.
and 17 cents. It has a list of a numerous.
Don't want to shortchange anybody.
That's right.
Here's the one.
So, again, I have the one that ends on the 15th, and I also have the one that ends on January, so. which
I now
is-
have both of them.
And just to clear up confusion, that's merely a process of our reporting software reports it as going through 115. Those are actually only the disbursements that were paid out in December and in November. So really, the starting date tells you what month it's a report for.
Okay.
I'm going to look and see because that was pointed out to me today, and I hadn't noticed that before, and I think there's probably a way we can adjust that heading to make it less confusing, but it does not actually include checks from January.
Okay.
It should cut off as of 12/31.
Okay.
And we'll make sure that's correct.
Yeah, I know in the past we had asked whether those could be aligned with these reports, so that,
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. That
plan.
was the question that was asked, so
Did not get that.
we will figure that out this week, just to make sure everybody knows and understands that we're looking at what we expect to be looking at, so.
All right.
Okay, they both look like they include the same amount of items, however, one seems to be about 10 grand more than the other. Nonetheless, there's probably 30 items on each list. I had a chance to look them over, and nothing looked unusual to me.
Are you going to do a roll call on the first one then?
Yeah,
Because I don't even have a second.
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
second.
We're just going to do the first one first. but
Yeah.
There was motion support, and does anybody have any questions on that one? Except that the correction of the date range at the top
Right.
is for that month. Okay, roll call, please.
Nivell.
yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Hayden.
Yes.
Randazzo.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
I'm stuttering, sorry. Quisenberry.
Yes. Okay, the disbursements have been approved. Now we're going to move on to the,
We have to do it
I
for the
make a
next one.
motion to pay the disbursements for the period ending January 15th, 2025 in the amount of $25,041.42.
Support.
okay, once again, moved by Larry, supported by Tony. And,
I had a question on this one.
okay,
So the uniform for Paul, the 11978, it's the number 22702 for your check number.
Oh.
What is that?
That was a uniform piece for a DPW member, from the way that we did uniform disbursements up until we changed it this year.
Oh, okay, okay. So,
under the old way.
very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions about the disbursements? Roll call vote, please.
Brooks.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Hayden.
Yes.
Randazzo.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Nivell.
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. No stutters that time, very good. Okay. Takes us past disbursements. We can move on to public comments on, this is a chance where anyone who comes to a public meeting held by the village council gets a chance to address us, should they choose to. There are some members of the audience, and I think we have a taker.
Come on, Leanne.
Okay.
She's so shy.
Yeah, she's shy. Just introduce yourself, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, my name is Leanne Claxton. I am the president-elect of the Ortonville DDA. May I pass
Yes,
this
you
out?
may. That's,
Oh, look at that.
That'll be
Melanie,
helpful.
you know.
Yay.
Thank you.
So to try to keep this quick for you, essentially,
Thank you.
people ask, what does the DDA do? Who are they? What do they even do? And a lot of people think, oh, they do all the events in town. But the reality is, we do a lot more than events in town. So I just wanted to, in the effort to try to kind of keep you guys updated as to what we're doing, and maybe like strengthen our partnerships with you as an organization. Kind of just let you know where we're at. I don't need to go through every single one of them. A lot of these are collaborations between the two organizations and the Planning Commission. But I wanted to also point out that part of how the DDA is doing things now through our Main Street organization is we select transformational strategies, and 2 is generally what each organization selects, and that takes us through the next 3 to 5 years. We selected the last year to focus on placemaking and business and economic development. So that's what each of these projects is a priority with a placement on, with emphasis on one of those 2 things. And so if you have any questions or you'd like me to go through with any of these with you, please reach out to me and I can let you know.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Of course.
So, like, I was looking through your minutes, but that's where I saw that you guys had this, so, the banners, I thought was really interesting with veterans. Can you explain that a little? See, we are so, like, in tune. Okay, all right.
It's not 100% published yet, but basically, yes, we're selling Hometown Heroes banners. And they're going to be $50 each. Each banner will have the individual's name, branch of service, and credentials. This is kind of what they'll look like. They're kind of like the ones that are already on the pole out there. There's a registration form on the back. We'll have it on our website. That will be pushed to our social media. And I think it's going to be a really great addition to the downtown. It's going to be a nice change of pace. So.
And do you have to be a veteran, or did you open it up, or it's veteran at this point?
So you don't have to be a vet it's active service people as well.
Okay, oh, very good.
And so we're taking sponsorships as well as people can buy them for their loved ones in
Okay.
honor of their loved ones.
And is that for a year? Is that, or has that not been
Depends on
decided?
how many purchases we get.
Okay.
And how many light poles we have available to put them on. So we may rotate them in and out, depending on, how that all ends up going.
I think that's very cool. And then you said a preloaded card program that you
Yeah,
guys
so,
are doing.
it's like an evolution of our Downtown Dollars program. Right now, you can call up, you go, hi, Downtown Dollars, and you go to the office and you pick up your little Downtown Dollars. Well, we're creating an electronic version of that, and it works through MasterCard. And you go in, I should have it on my phone. I bought one from Fenton to see how it would work. So you basically, it pops up on your phone, it's a credit card number, and the business just has to put the credit card, or the number in, like they would. They key it into their credit card machine as of right now. Supposedly, Yifty, the organization that we're going through, will have an opportunity for you to do like a tap to pay, kind of like your Apple Pay or whatever. So that technology isn't complete yet, but we're hoping for it. So it's kind of exciting. And it comes in immediately. So you can use it immediately, and then you can start. And we can use it like a downtown dollar also, like we can hand them out as well.
Right, so instead of getting the downtown bucks, you're just getting it loaded on
Yep,
the
you can get it loaded right electronically on your phone. People complain that I forgot my downtown dollars, I left them at home. I got them for this thing, whatever, so they forget them, so I don't have this.
And then, so your historical society, and I talked to Alex very briefly right before this, and the narrating and the videos and the, Alex, actually for a living, he's a videographer.
Okay.
So, should he get in touch with, is that Stephanie? I'm
Stephanie's
assuming?
working on it.
Okay, or, can she reach out to him or something, just?
I don't, either way,
Okay.
I don't have Stephanie's number, immediately handy.
No, that's fine.
But this is just an audio tour right now. It goes on our local app.
Oh, I thought it was
It
gonna
used to
be
be
a
the district
video of narrating the, whatever was at the museum at that time, or a particular part of the
Oh, I
museum.
see. I mean, that would be very cool. But as of right now, we're just doing an audio. It's
Okay.
just an audio thing that if you've got the walking app
Yep,
that goes through the downtown, as you hit
Okay.
each spot, you can find out about it.
okay. Yeah, I totally read more into that.
But if Alex would like to do that, I'm sure we could probably find something fun to do.
See,
Definitely talk about it.
Similarly.
Yeah.
I think it would be awesome. I mean,
But someone would might get really mad at me if I add things to this list.
it could just be in conjunction with the audio one, you know, like,
No, for
I
sure.
like the idea of audio. That forces them to actually come physically look at the things instead of just watch online somewhere.
Yeah,
True.
it's kind of cool.
true. And then I had one last question, and then I'm sorry, but Pocket Park, what were some of the ideas that you had for the Pocket Park?
This is Courtney's project, but it's kind of a cool one. Basically, that spot in between the Old Town Hall and the village office, to kind of activate that with, we're not sure what yet exactly.
Okay.
Depends on funding a lot. But maybe some wall art if that's permitted, possibly like hammock stands, tables and chairs. We already have we put our Adirondack chairs in there over the summer last year.
Yeah.
And some picnic tables and stuff, and they got used at the food truck events. I even saw a lot of kids had graduation parties there. I saw people hanging out there on the weekends at the graduation parties. They used them at the farmer's market a little bit when we had food trucks there. So basically to expand on that and have, we want to do some outdoor games, like maybe have some cornhole, Jenga,
would
maybe
be
get the
cool there.
big,
Yep.
what's
The
the?
bi- Oh, yeah,
Connect Four.
the Connect, yeah.
And then we also have, the View newspaper donated a couple of old newspaper dispensers.
Nice.
And I think we're gonna try to activate that with, we have to paint it up. We have a young man that I know that does, auto painting.
Yeah.
And he's gonna paint them up in the colors of our banners and stuff. And then we can have those for like to hold games or books or, I don't know, whatever.
Right.
So-
That would look really cool.
So some things like that, like we're gonna, the idea is to enclose the air conditioners in there and maybe make art around it, like maybe put like a little wooden picket fence around there,
Right,
put
and
art on
paint it.
that, or something cute, something fun like that. Maybe try to get some of the kids in the community involved in doing that. And then the rest of it kind of may evolve, like get some shade, those shade kites or whatever they're called, or
Shade
make it-
sail.
Yeah, what's it called, shade sail?
Shade sails.
Okay, yeah, stuff like that.
I would love to see the lights.
And obviously, make the entrance a little bit better. Like, we don't want, that tree is so cool, you don't want to get rid of the tree.
I
but
know, right?
Maybe trim it up or
But
find
yeah.
a way to get it in there.
Incorporate it more.
Yes,
Yep.
every time we
Some steps
go
down
to
from the
do
old town
something,
hall.
it's like, but the tree, it always becomes an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have a lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
And
Working towards.
and aside from the last two things, they're actively being worked on right now, all of these projects, so. You can
Is
kind
your
of,
volunteer base, is it growing, or do you find it just leveling off, or is it growing?
I guess it's probably leveling off in a lot of ways. Our primary events that we need volunteers for are like Witches Night, Spring Market, Christmas. We have a great participation from our high school kids. They're here a lot. But adult volunteers, we really haven't been really pursuing that avenue as much as we probably should, because we have been kind of backing away from a lot of the things. So we have a few things that we'd like to kind of maybe start bringing people in for that aren't necessarily events, but like helping with some of these projects that they might be interested in assisting with.
Well, thank you for everything you do.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Leanne.
Okay, I'm gonna follow up with Leanne on an issue involving DDA. I was gonna wait till it came around to the council, but as long as she's mentioning it, I will. At a meeting this morning, the DDA held some elections. We will be voting on those at our next meeting as soon as we get the minutes from the DDA meeting today. So at our next meeting, this council will have a packet of who's been nominated and elected, and then we just vote to approve it as the overseeing agency. It's a formality, but we have to wait till next month to do it. Okay, anyone else in the audience care to speak? Takes us past public comments, brings us to items from trustees.
Mary and Shelby.
Mary, you had something?
No, she's
Oh,
like, no.
Well,
She's shaking her head.
Can
Don't
we
look at
make
me.
you?
Yeah.
Is there can't even force you to. Okay, darn it. Okay, brings us to items from trustees. I'll start down with Linda.
Thank you for starting with me first. I know it's been a long time since we've met, so I do want to mention that I was extremely pleased that our tree lighting was such a grand success. I think the entire evening came off wonderfully. It was a great experience to be able to work with some members at the township offices to create the little lever that Santa pulled down, and it just went really, really well. And I thank everyone who assisted with that, because it was just kind of a dream I had in one of the pre-meetings, and I've forgotten her name now, Stacy, I believe, at the township. Her and I were on the exact same wavelength, so we kind of cooperated and made it happen. So thank you for all the approvals and help, and it was just wonderful. Oh, I guess I should mention also that we also had a very successful luminaries on Christmas Eve. And again, thank you to the DDA, or the DPW especially, for their assistance in that. It couldn't happen without their
No, it sure
coordination.
That's for sure.
Okay, Kay.
Just mention that we had a Personnel Committee meeting this week, and just kind of getting things together for what we're going to work on right away, and with many things to be added down the road, just to start the year off, so everybody knows.
Good to mention, yes. Tony.
Nothing much. All my notes are in the acceptance items, so that's about it.
Okay, perfect. Melanie?
All right. So I've been selected by the Michigan Municipal League, MML, to be on a legislative committee. Those are held quarterly at the Capitol Building in Lansing, and I'm looking forward to networking with municipalities throughout Michigan and learning more about actually the process of shaping legislation that goes into House bills. So that's very exciting for me. Wayfinding, we've ordered 2 more signs to be fabricated and installed. These will be located on Oakwood. And our village manager probably will have more to say about it, I'm not sure. Okay, yep. Christmas in the Village, I did attend the post-Christmas in the Village meeting and gave my input to the committee, both personally and what the businesses, had their input. I actually contacted some of the business owners and got their input, so I did give that to Parks and Rec, John Hogg. Let's see here. See, I had to write everything down because I knew Septemberfest meeting is Wednesday at 1:30 at the library. This Wednesday, the 29th. If anybody wants to attend that, and that's open to anybody.
1:30, you said?
Yep, at the library. And then the Chamber of Commerce, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, and please bear with me, it's a little long. So some of you may or may not know, about a year ago, the Holly Chamber of Commerce reached out to me regarding our businesses and inquired if there would be an interest amongst our businesses to join their chamber. I told them the best way to gauge that interest was to meet directly with the businesses. So I assisted the chamber with finding a space for their initial meeting, and to date, several businesses from Brandon, Ortonville area have joined this chamber. I attended the annual chamber, which is now known as North Oakland Regional Chambers Association. I know. I attended their dinner on Saturday night. The Brandon Township Library was awarded the 2025 Nonprofit Excellence Award. The library has been instrumental with the membership drive, providing meeting space for educational and networking events and one-on-one meetings for our business owners and the chamber. So Laura Fromweller and her board are really to be commended for this. I think it's a great honor, and they worked very hard and were very involved. Additionally, to accommodate the village of Ortonville and Brandon Township, I just want to make it clear that the Holly Chamber changed their name and also opened seats on their board to reflect the merging of our communities. So I think that's a great networking opportunity for our businesses. It gives them another option, should they choose to join, and that's totally up to them. And with all of this said, I would like to consider, and it's something I'll talk to Ken and our village manager about perhaps the village of Ortonville becoming a member. It's fairly reasonable, just to show our commitment and support to our businesses and to this chamber initiative. Thank you. Sorry it was so long, guys.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
How does that affect, if at all, the DDA? As far as,
They will be working, like, they have, when is the Thrive networking? It's Wednesday, okay. So together, jointly, DDA and the chamber is meeting at the library. It's an open house from 8 to 10 in the morning, and it's for the businesses to come in and network. And it's being sponsored by Coffee Shop in Holly and something out here, and by both communities. So it's a joint,
so it seems to be, everybody seems to be on board.
Well,
So far.
this is new. It's not to step on toes. It's just to give another opportunity and to support each other. I know Matt Jenkins meets with Richard Kinnaman, he's the director, and then the president is George Cullis. So I know Matt meets and speaks with them regularly. So it appears that it's working well. I don't know, Leanne, do you have?
No, we haven't done a whole lot yet.
Okay, yeah, so,
There used to be a chamber, and it dissolved here.
Right.
so,
right,
Right.
So time will tell.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But I like that they did change their name and to accommodate, and also open seats to accommodate people in our communities. So I think that's a good start, and we'll see what
good start.
happens. We'll see what happens.
Larry?
Yeah, I also thought that the Christmas tree lighting was very successful. I think that worked out well, having the parade in the evening and then the tree lighting immediately following. Our CERT team was there supporting that. We did provide some feedback back to the township about the parade. Mainly that some of the gaps were a little big, so maybe tighten it up a little. But all in all, it was a really good, nice evening, and hopefully everything worked well the next day too as well. I'm assuming it did, because they had a nice split of activities between the 2 days. I also want to commend our DPW crew. As always, they're doing a really good job this winter with staying on top of the streets and sidewalks. I see them out there, I hear them out there real early in the morning after we have some
Right.
snows.
Yep.
So I know they're up early, making sure that things are clear for our residents once they have to get up and go to work. So I really appreciate the DPW's efforts there. And, and there's an upcoming SEMCOG event that I recently found out about in Pontiac, with local officials in SEMCOG getting together in Pontiac, so I'm going to try to see if I can attend that. And pretty much it at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Larry. Alex?
I would like to also say the Christmas event was really, really something. I was more of a resident viewing it at that point, and so I think it was a very good success. I wish I could have been a part of this part where we could have discussed some of the parade stuff. I kind of wish it would have ended at the tree instead of going away. I think that would have really kept a lot of the people there a little bit longer, but that was my only thing. Earlier this month, I attended the Main Street American accreditation meeting. It was a pretty good meeting, insightful. We talked about a few things. Linda was there as well. Really kind of came down to a couple issues. connecting our communities and trying to bring businesses in. And it seems like the main thing is how we get either sewers or a septic field. And so I think my focus might be helping to figure that out.
So be my hero.
Yes.
Yeah,
So whatever we gotta do, that was pretty much my month, so.
nice. I'm glad
Yeah, very good.
you're getting involved. Thank you, thank you.
Yep, thanks a lot for that. All right, that's it for trustees. On to unfinished business. This is the item that we added at the beginning of the meeting called intergovernmental agreement. And it was at Melanie's request, so maybe I will allow her to summarize what that item is.
Okay, well, bear with me again, I'm sorry. As this council is aware, I've been asking for the intergovernmental agreement between Village and Brandon Township since 2023. This needs to be a priority and completed for both municipalities. This will put to rest a lot of unanswered questions, especially as it relates to liability, and help both of our municipalities move forward in the same direction. It's one thing to not know of something and not be able to take an action, but it's another thing to know there's something that exists and not take the action to correct that. And that's where we stand right now. We know we need a legal binding agreement. We just haven't taken the action to do it. And we really need to do this for whom is responsible for what, especially when it comes to liabilities in the Sherman Park area. So in speaking with several members, staff members, and officials with both boards in the village and township, it was alarming that no one knows who is responsible if someone is injured, who is responsible for upkeep of the fields, the courts, the concession stand, replacing bleachers or backstops, etc. Because of this, costs generally fall on one party or the other instead of being shared costs, and there's no agreement between our two municipalities to budget for future expenses related to replacing, like bleachers or backstops. We have a concession stand now that the village just paid to have renovated. What's the plan to use the facility? I would like to see a return on investment for our tax dollars and for all of us taxpayers. Do we plan to have vendors in there to sell food? Will we share the profits? As it stands right now, the concession stand needs security cameras. Who buys those? These are the things that we need to decide and get into an agreement. And there was talk of the township was thinking of doing vending machines there. But if it's village property, do they just install these vending machines, or do they come before the council for buy-in, or do we split proceeds? When the township decided, for those of you who weren't here then, when they decided to use some of their CDBG money, grant money, towards the pickleball courts, I was not personally comfortable with the process. Parks and Rec never came before Village Council and presented the idea, nor did they ask for our feedback, input, or support. We learned of this at a council meeting when Fred Waybrandt mentioned to us that this was what was going to happen. And it was at that meeting that I raised the issue of not having an agreement between the township and village. I asked that an agreement be created as soon as possible before the pickleball courts were put in, and it's 3 years later. So please understand that I am very appreciative for the pickleball courts. I think it's great. I know this council thinks they're great. We love the events, the Parks and Rec. We support those. It's nothing about those, and I know the township does too. However, my concerns are with the process, or lack thereof, and having no legal binding agreement between the two municipalities. So this evening, I would like to make a motion that an intergovernmental agreement is created between Brandon Township and the Village of Ortonville, covering any and all shared services between the municipalities. Additionally, the Sherman Park Terms of Agreement shall be priority. and present it at our February council meeting. Furthermore, special events at Sherman Park will not be approved until an intergovernmental agreement is reached between both municipalities.
Melanie, I do got to kind of interrupt because we cannot make a motion and vote on it.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, but why?
because if it's added to an agenda,
Uh-huh.
that just means that 6 of us are here hearing it for the first time. Doesn't mean this is going to go away, and it doesn't mean it won't be on the next agenda with all of your supporting data and maybe some more things. The fairness there is, if it's something that's added to an agenda, it can't be a votable item. It can just be a discussion item. That's just of whatever it happened to be.
And that's a Open Meetings Act?
Yeah, I mean,
I-
that's my understanding of anything. It's kind of, that's how we got some of these council members that would just show up and get nominated and voted on when they were added to an agenda in front of all of us. And nobody has a chance to even research or learn or do any of their due diligence
Okay,
before
but-
being forced to vote. on it.
And I understand that, but I do not believe it is against the OMA at all. I
Well,
mean,
it's just my
to-
understanding, and that's the rule I've held for,
And it may be a
5-7
personal rule,
No, no,
and I don't disagree
I'm all
with it.
for
I don't
this. I am-
disagree with it.
And I spoke to you about that earlier. If we had got that on the agenda and we were able to
I did
put,
send and ask for it to be put on the
I
agenda.
know, I saw it at 4 o'clock today, Melanie.
Okay, but, well, I sent
Okay.
it before then, but,
Okay, but that's when I saw it.
yeah.
But nonetheless, and that's why when we do add things to the agenda, they're just for discussion, and we don't necessarily, it's just unfair to the other 7 to vote on something that they are hearing about for the very first time.
This council is not hearing about this intergovernmental.
This particular one, they're not.
Agreement
Just the
for the
standard
first
that,
time.
the standard that we follow, that's all. So.
This is old
Everything you're
business.
talking about is gonna happen. and
This
it's
is
gonna
why
hap-
it's under unfinished business. This is not a first-time discussion.
Yes, Larry?
Yes, I would like to add a little bit of input into that, too. I would be a little uncomfortable trying to approve a motion that sets a deadline of February for something that we don't even have a draft proposal in front of us, so I think it'd be better to,
No, it's
Direct-
to get it started.
it sounded from me that you wanted to have something back by February that we could have in place already, and I don't even see that we could have a proposal on an agreement ready for us to even review until February. So if you're only suggesting or trying to direct our village manager to work on a proposed agreement to present to council, would be
Yes.
okay with directing that. I also want to share that within my own experience at my work, we have, our company has 3 major divisions, and we have these support agreements between the different divisions. One of the things that I found very useful, and I think this is applicable here too, is we use something called a RASI chart in order to detail all the different pieces of the agreement and who's responsible for what. RASI stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And I think something like that would be very useful, because I've used that a lot of times when there's a discussion about, the other party saying, hey, we need you to do this, and then you can just look at that document and say, no, it clearly states you're the one responsible for it. Or they try to do something, you say, no, it clearly states we're the one who have to initiate that. So I
think
think
that's what she wants to
something
do,
like
is get
that
the
should be
clarification
included in any type of
Hey, we
agreement.
can direct the manager to do anything we
just-
want, and we can and should. And I'm sure he's got the point on this, because as you mentioned earlier when you began, this is not the first time this has come up. It's come up multiple times since 2022.
Yes, it
And-
has.
And when we get something that we can look at and vote on, I'm all for it.
This is a motion to direct that happens so we get something to look at and vote on.
Okay, but we don't need a motion to tell them what to do.
Yeah, we can just,
Okay, well, then we know that at the February council
consensus that
meeting,
we want direct manager.
we will have it then.
Linda, I think, has.
Hold on, because I got to finish too. That's ambitious to do it by February, and I hope it can be done prior to that.
I don't want the
But-
whole thing done
okay.
just on the Sherman Park, like
Okay.
I discussed with you, just that.
Just, I get
Yeah,
it, but
yeah.
here's the other thing that everybody should understand about negotiations, is he is our negotiator.
Mm-hmm.
He has to have somebody to negotiate with, and he has to have somebody with the authority to make it a balanced out sheet. And that's
Yes.
been one of our roadblocks up till now, is getting through to the township people that, hey, this isn't a can we can keep kicking down the road. So there's gonna have to be some finessing done between the village and the township to have this thing get down on paper, whether it be we have involve our attorney or get some examples from some other municipalities or whatever we need to do. But we have to have a starting point first. And he and I met with John and Jason, just last month, and I wasn't very encouraged with how that turned out. They just didn't seem to be really receptive to wanting to change anything, let alone put it in writing. So that's going to have to change first. So that's the approach I think that I directed Matt to take, and you're telling him to take the same one, and so are the rest of us. We
Yeah.
want that, we need that to be done. So come hell or high water, or we just put padlocks on all our equipment until they decide they want to answer up to some of these financial questions.
Right, but the liability is a very,
And now
Scary
I'll
thing.
go back over to you.
Thank you, Ken. I just wanted to say that this was not something that we were ignoring last year. I wanted to see how it went and work with John Hug. Found John very, very receptive to work with him. We talked about a lot of the different things that happened about late summer after the new manager came in. We had some discussions, and I shared with him that we had talked about having some agreements with those concerns. And I know, as Ken said, he began trying to initiate some conversations, and they were not happening. So it was not something that was ignored. It was just, as Ken explained, we had a lot of roadblocks, and there were a lot of other pans in the fire for the manager. So it did get, it is stalled because of those problems. And I think he has been diligent on, not only with the Parks and Rec, but also with Historical Society and some other entities, knowing that those things need to happen, and was very interested in making those happen. So it was not something that we are ignoring.
Okay, Mr. Village Manager,
If I can, as a point of order, if you haven't moved out from that discussion.
it's still open.
Trustee Nivelt brought another point up in her motion that I don't know, that I hadn't heard discussed, and I don't know if we want to entertain it because it pertains to something coming up. She talked about whether or not this board would consider any event applications to take place at that park before we have anything in place about responsibilities and guidelines on that. I don't know if that was something that needed to be discussed further, if that's something that I need to take on along with this other part to
Well, they may tie
guess
together.
research whether that decision
How many
Wouldn't we want
needs to
to,
be researched.
how many permits do we have
see
right
how
now?
things go first before we start, laying down ultimatums? I mean, he has not had an opportunity to really sit down and.
Oh, I have.
he has.
No,
When-
But, and this
And
is
so
to
on, but
create,
it's,
create something that can be looked at by both the township and the village, and then start, what, that's appropriate for both and that both will buy into.
Right.
But we need something created, and that's the whole idea. This is, I am requesting, trying to make a motion to request a document start to be created, because we're going to be getting these events coming in, and again, who's liable? And I'm telling you, I talked to board members over there, and John Hug even has a different opinion than our village manager. And John Hug is very supportive of doing one of these. It would help him immensely in his job. So he's 100% on board with doing this. And so are the board members that I spoke with. So I think it could go way better than what
okay.
we're thinking.
No,
I
I
have,
think one thing we can do where we can get a little voice maybe is there is the meeting on Wednesday for the Septemberfest planning. That would be an opportunity for maybe Matt or Ken or at least some people from our village to come and represent the need for this type of an agreement, hopefully prior to that event happening. So I think that would be one way we can at least press that. And you're right, if the township supervisor's office is not listening, I think John does listen to that.
John
so-
does, and the supervisor's office is content with how it's been for 50 years,
Yeah.
and why would they want it to change? It's
Yeah.
going to go into their
But I
pockets a
mean,
little bit.
I think that would be one place where we could start giving more pressure and on
And I
this
think
topic.
another way to start is when you have two parties and you're trying to negotiate something and somebody is not holding up their end of the bargain, you write up something and present it with them, and then the
Yes.
ball's in their court to either say yay or nay.
Right.
So
Thank
I
you.
have no problem giving them a saying,
Yeah.
this is what we
If
think.
they don't give
If
feedback,
you want
then
to
we
add
say,
to
we
it, or
write
you
up
want
a
to
draft,
delete,
say,
come and meet us at a meeting.
This is
But
what
right now,
we
this is
want
how we feel.
you to agree to.
And
if
that's
you wanna
exactly what
continue
this
having
motion
that.
is for.
Well, that's what, we have to do it, but
Yeah.
So do we want to do that motion to get something started?
no, we
I
can't.
think we have a directive already to do our village manager, and I trust that he will handle this
Okay.
in a good manner.
And again, I just want to point out, the liability insurance issue is very important, and the township should know who's responsible and have a copy with whether they are signed on at the bottom or the top, and then we should also know, because right now, that is not even clear.
I
I'm
would-
not comfortable with
I would
that.
like to point out that every event in the village should have an event permit that is submitted. And if that's the case, every event permit also details that they have to provide the liability. insurance.
Correct.
So whoever is
That's
holding
for
the
an
event
event.
provides the liability.
Okay, but if I'm over there playing basketball or doing pickleball and I break my ankle, who's responsible?
Who owns the property?
But would you be surprised if I told you I got two different answers?
I wouldn't be surprised, but it all comes, legally, it comes down to whoever is the property owner, I believe.
It depends. I
If
can't
it's-
get insurance copies from either right now. So I just would feel much more comfortable, and as a council, we need to do our due diligence. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, if somebody falls
That's right.
on one of our sidewalks and breaks an ankle, who is responsible?
All
It's a
right,
village
I-
sidewalk, it's our
Okay, well,
responsibility.
then you know that, and I guess I can't even see the document, so that's it. So, all right, we will not take action.
Well, we'll take the action of directing the village manager to have paid close attention to our discussions and to follow up on those. And we will have something at our February meeting to
discuss.
look at.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you,
That's good.
Yeah.
thank you.
That leads us to
Alex.
new business. Each year, the Brandon Fire Department, Greg Glover and the fire department and Greg from the substation come here and they give us a little 5-minute speech about what's going on in New.
Yeah, I missed them, I thought
Well,
they'd be here.
I
They
did too.
actually
I
asked
had
me-
questions for them.
Greg kind of wanted to get out of it. He says, if you need me there, I'll be there. I said, well, is there anything that you would like me to pass on behalf of the sheriff's department about this report? Because it's just stats that they're computer graphic.
Right.
That their Columbus person puts together. And he says, no, everything's the same. I wouldn't be adding anything other than wasting 10 minutes of a speech. I said, well then, if you don't need to come, don't come. He just provided the report to us, and I got the same thing out of the fire department because they have a lot of statistics that we are able to, I guess, find out on our own, but it was the dog and pony show. I think neither one of them wanted to be part
Yeah.
of. But we do have their reports, and if we have any questions, or you have any concerns, or if you guys want to make, if I want to make a appointment to call them back at a future meeting to go through a Q&A on stats in the township, we can do that. Most of them speak for themselves.
Do you know anything about the price increase and how that's going to affect us out here?
Yes, there is a price increase. It's rather a hefty one.
Yeah.
Quite often, the sheriff's department, and those are set by the Board of Commissioners, they'll go 2 or 3 years without much of a price increase, and then all of a sudden you see them in pretty big chunks that they go up. When I was a deputy out here, the cost was $95,000 a year to have me here. My salary was $65,000, so municipalities and expenses ate up that other $35,000. It's way, way north of that, probably double. Not only that, the townships, the sheriff's department and the Board of Commissioners squeeze the townships quite heavily to continually add personnel. There's good and bad to that. Some are overstaffed and some are understaffed. It doesn't really matter. The county's into money making, and they make money when they can contract out sheriff's deputies for whatever. When we get one here in town and Glover wants $800, it isn't going in that guy's pocket. So the idea that the sheriff's department raised their contract price this year, I'll bet you by every bit of 30% of what it was. And when I say it was 95 when I was around, I wouldn't doubt if it's about 160 right now, or
Yeah.
at least double.
I know
maybe
they
even
raised it
more.
by 36%, but
Probably
I don't know
did.
what that means for us. Like,
For us, if we
for-
have 10 deputies, it's 10 times, it's about $1.4 million.
Well,
And
it'd probably be 35% increase. If
Yes.
it's our 35% overall to Brandon Township, including Ortonville, our
I-
portion
yeah.
would probably be
And that's if they don't
35%
change
more.
their manpower needs. Because
Exactly,
typically,
yeah.
typically when they sign a contract, they'll say, Glover will come in and
Yeah,
give the song and
based
dance
on-
that, hey, I need another guy on afternoons, or I
Yep.
need another guy here. And the township board has most of the time gone along. There are townships in here that use the sheriff's department who keep that to such a bare bones minimum, like Springfield and South Lyon. They could beg and beg for more people, and they're not gonna get it, because their government feels that, you know what, 6 guys is enough. I don't see anybody here overworked. I see them all, taking naps behind the church. So they just don't buy into this, oh, you gotta have more people, or, oh, the world's a dangerous place, until they're all falling over each other, which they do in places like Rochester Hills. That's the type of service they get. But that's called contract policing, and Brandon has a contract with them, and we piggyback on them for some things from time to time, but when we do, we send the bill to the township, not to the sheriff. So that's how contract policing works, and they did have an extremely high rate in their cost of service this year.
Yeah, they did.
That's all I can tell you about those reports. Moves us on to the next item, which
Oh,
is.
wait. I have a question about the fire department.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I thought they would be here. So, and maybe village manager knows this. The House Bill 569, and that's the federally funded, it's transportation where municipalities can get 100% back on, I think, EMS ambulance services. But you have to participate, you have to, do cost reports and a couple other things to apply and participate in this. Does anybody know, are we doing that?
Things
And
I
has the fire department been doing the medical billing for each run that they do? Is that what you're asking?
No, that's not what I'm asking, no. So I will call him and ask if they are gonna participate in House Bill 569. Cool, all right.
All right, moves us on to the next item, which is this baseball team that wants to try and come back again. As you know, they did once 2 years ago. It was kind of, in my opinion, a disaster. They tried last year. They didn't correct many of the problems I noticed from the first year, but nonetheless, they did not come back last year, but it appears they're going to try to come back this year. Maybe they've made some corrections, or maybe they haven't, I'm not sure.
I don't know how we can
Well-
even make a motion on this with it not being,
It's not filled out.
It's not, no, it's,
Yeah.
no.
I didn't know why
I
it
wouldn't
was
say
on
we were ready to
the
vote on this
agenda.
anyway. We're
No,
just-
I don't, and that's why I said, I don't
We're
know.
just sending the
Can we
manager back
discuss
with
it?
more things to do with this application,
Yeah.
of which we will probably say no to then. But the only thing I'll give them a little bit of kudos for is they turned it in early enough that we will have an opportunity, at least a meeting or two, to go over it before we meet our deadline of having to either approve it or deny it.
I did appreciate the fact that it looks like they put a lot more effort.
They did.
in this time around
They
in
sure
trying
did.
to address the parking situation, which was one of our biggest concerns the last time around. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy that they took that seriously and that it does look like they are seriously looking at ways to try to alleviate that.
Mm-hmm. I did notice too, that I didn't know last year that they had the senior center, the smart buses doing,
No, they didn't.
they didn't, they said that they contracted with them.
Well, they did tell us some
They
things they
said
didn't do.
a few things.
Well, so Tony, they never did?
They attempted to, after, if I may use the word lightly, gave them the ultimatum.
Oh, I remember that.
Then they came in.
Okay.
And I will say this, that's part of the emails from last year.
Okay,
And I wanted to make sure that it was the same thing. Bowen
same
is the
group?
guy that's on these emails, along with a guy named Kenny.
Yeah.
And Bowen's the same guy that signed this paperwork here. And I think, I might be wrong, but Is this for the first one? This, I
It's
don't
for-
think this is the second one.
It has all four of them.
That
It
has
says
all
see the
4
date.
dates in there.
Oh,
They also
okay.
did not supply any of the insurance
Yeah.
information, which they know they have to supply.
Yeah.
Well, nothing's signed off. I mean,
So-
it didn't go,
And they also said, you know,
Pretty
last
light
year
process.
that Oxford or one of the other,
Lake Orion.
Lake Orion, bent over backwards for them, so I say just let them have it over there.
I
I
noticed
don't
they,
waste our
they
time.
suggested that, to close our roads between our mill and Ball, which would help, and I'm thinking, oh. And then they also thought that Edna Burton Senior Center could provide food services as a means of fundraising. But I'm thinking, why would we have a concession stand?
To run, to raise funds for them.
Right.
But yet, we still don't know what we're doing with ours, so, but, it goes, hand in hand. Yeah.
My other note, thing that I thought of is that when he has the 16 teams and when he has the 26 teams, were two different major events. I know with the 26 teams, he was also including the high school facilities
Oh, yeah.
and some
Yeah.
other school facilities that we aren't even aware whether they're available. But I did appreciate, as you said, that he is at least considering the parking and, but we need a lot more discussion and detail before any of this could definitely be approved.
One other factor for me is that I do see he lists church parking lots in the post office too.
Yes.
And even though I do see that in the parking schedule, they do accommodate times when they're available and not, I would also like to see included letters from those
Exactly.
places stating that they are okay with the parking.
Well,
at those
and I can
facilities.
tell
That's
you
a good
already, they're
idea.
not. He said the church parking lot, and he thinks he means the Methodist church, and he
He
doesn't have
mentioned
permission to
two
use
churches.
that. I know. The church that's further down, where he mentioned he was gonna have shuttle service from, is that old Baptist church.
Right.
And that's from here to that camera away from the field. So you don't need a shuttle bus to take you from where I'm standing to where she's filming this. Because that's where that church is located in regards to the fields themselves. So that's a little bit of a con job, I suppose.
Yeah, because
they
I'm
were
not going to
have-
take their word that they have
That's right.
permission to
But
use
they were
those
gonna
parking
have shuttles take the people, you couldn't even get on the door and in your seat before you're getting back off again. And that's how silly it was. And we asked them last year to have all of their people park at the library, and have a real shuttle service, or whoever they contract
Right.
with, I don't care. That then everybody is required to park there, and that parking in the streets is just not gonna be permitted because of our businesses. And they were not willing to comply with that, or at least they did it with a hoodwink, and,
Right. They
You know,
told us yes, and then they didn't.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we'll do that, and then
Yeah.
they didn't.
and I just don't find them to be all that credible right now.
Do
Maybe
we
they
need
can
a-
improve on that, maybe
You
they
know, with everybody just discussing it, I say we make a motion to deny the permit.
I would half agree, except what I prefer to do is have the village manager present us with a cleaned-up version of what we have right now. We can put it on February's agenda, and we can vote it yea or nay.
All right, then I make a motion to table this agenda item until the February meeting to provide the village manager time to clarify some concerns with the application.
Support.
When you say clarify, are you going to tell him that it's incomplete? I mean, that's what to me, it's not filled out.
Oh, no, it's
that's-
not.
So that's the
some of the
first step
concerns, yeah.
before we do anything.
Yeah.
Send it back to them and tell them, you did a
Right.
great job, but we just need
It's
more
not-
information.
Yeah.
But,
it's-
I mean, we could approve that, but yet still deny it based upon what we just talked about earlier about having an agreement between the township and the village here.
We kind of did that last year without the agreement thing, and then that's when everything started
No,
falling
that,
apart.
No,
I got Alex's
Kinda
point
different.
exactly.
Yeah, in
But
this case, this is a
not to
different
confuse
topic. This is
what
not-
Melanie was saying, but
Right.
Melanie is
Government.
referring to, and we need, an intergovernmental agreement.
Yeah.
This is not an intergovernmental
Yeah.
agreement, although the same rules should apply, and
They-
we should make them apply.
They do, but
But, it's a non-governmental agreement, and maybe we have two agreements, one for government and one for non-government. But a privately owned baseball field doesn't qualify as a government.
Yeah, and in this case, that's exactly why we need that insurance information, because
agree.
they are totally liable for anything
Hey,
that
they go
happens
hand in
while
glove
they're
together. I'm
contracting our
just
space for their time.
Distinguishing the difference between the two.
Yeah, I think he's trying to throw in a blanket thing that we can't approve.
Yeah.
We can't approve a blanket permit for the entire, all four events.
Well, the manager's
Because
gonna
he
clean
said he
it up
can't
and
even get the insurance till
and
2 weeks
next
before,
February
so
it'll
how
be
do we
on the
perform?
agenda, and it-
How do we prove it 60 days ahead if he won't get insurance
Right.
till
Well-
2 weeks before? I don't know.
I got a feeling he'll probably be denied and not happy again.
That's
But,
kinda hard.
I don't know that for sure.
I
I don't wanna-
Motion.
We
Beat a
have
dead
to,
horse.
yeah, because we supported
Motion to
it.
table?
Motion and support, or
The
to
motion was
table,
to kick it over?
to table it till next.
Table it.
Oh,
and
table
it. Okay, so
Matt-
we have to do
Matt-
All
a-
those in favor of tabling it?
Support.
All those opposed? It's gonna be tabled.
Okay, thank
Um,
you. All right.
Matt, do you find any, and I don't want anybody to come here and waste our time, but do you feel any need whatsoever to have the person in charge of this answer questions directly at a council meeting?
I don't
Okay.
I don't think that that would be valuable for them or you,
Okay,
given
I think you're right.
the almost certain destination that this application is headed for.
Right.
And I'll be prepared to have a much more thorough discussion in February.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
that's fine, gives us a month to,
That's
Yeah,
all we
thank
ask.
you.
probably with a few phone calls, you might have the answer that you're looking for and the one that best suits us. Yeah, although I will say this, I just heard this for the first time. 2 years ago, it was 24 teams, and now it's 16.
Oh, the
Well,
teams.
there's 4
Multiple
events.
There's 4
Two
different
with
events,
16
and they've
teams
got
and
all
2
different
with like
numbers.
24 or 26 teams.
Yeah.
So this isn't a downsized event.
No.
Oh, no, no, no.
Okay.
It's
All right.
growing.
This is one application to cover what they're recommending be 4 events
4
throughout the year.
events, yeah.
Okay, I see. All right,
Which would be okay if we could have all the information complete up front.
Exactly.
okay, so that item's tabled, it moves us on to the village manager report, and there's probably many things in your report that we already kind of hit on a little bit today.
There are. What I'm hearing is to give you the fast-forward version.
Yeah, yeah, okay. The only thing I want to announce before I let Matt begin his, is he has been working diligently since we lost our treasurer to assume some of those treasury duties and to also begin to streamline and make far, far, far more effective our financial reports. So they don't look like they used to, and they're not going to in the future. It's him and some other experts that have got away from an archaic means of doing this, and especially next month and the month after, when we start to do our budget, we will notice even more how much these streamlined measures are going to help us with when it comes to the budget.
So that's a perfect segue to adjust the order of things I was going to talk about. So you have in front of you December financial reports. You have a quarter-end detail and a year-to-date balance detail, because that is the 6-month mark. It's the end of the second quarter, right, December. So if you take a look at those, I prepared one, which is a very simple at-a-glance sheet, which provides you simply with balance information.
Oh,
This
I like
is the
that.
cash we have on hand.
Yeah, I like that one.
It doesn't give you anything, there's no detail on it as to what's earmarked and what's going where. That's what the detail's for that's attached. So at the 6-month mark, I think it makes sense to revisit the budget that was made 7 months or 8 months or now 9 months ago, and talk about some of maybe the projects we thought would happen that we allocated funds for, or that you allocated funds for, I should say, that maybe for whatever reason didn't happen or didn't cost as much, and we have an opportunity then to, and probably a responsibility to reallocate some of those funds to different projects in the mid-year, some things that might cost a little bit more. So my intention is that we have a budget workshop meeting coming up. I have not calendared the date yet, but that first budget workshop meeting would be to amend the budget that we're currently under for the last, now it will be 5 months of the operating in the fiscal year, to just look at that and say, yeah, there's some things that either did or didn't go as planned, and where we're going to reallocate things. And then it will also be kind of an introduction to the newer way of some of the cash operating systems that President Quisenberry alluded to. We are working, we had a very strong recommendation from both our auditors and the financial consultant that we've been paying to help us kind of not only streamline, but clean up things from the past, help me understand why we might have done things certain ways and how we can do them better in the future, so that we can build some processes that can be followed and can be transparent and can be something they can hand off to the next people and staff and always be an effective best practice way that we do things. So we actually will have some clear policies. Part of that first recommendation they made was one to move to a pooled cash system, which is in the most simple terms, consolidating bank accounts rather than having, because there's governmental funds that are earmarked for certain purposes, funds that have to be spent on certain things. And what we've done in the past is open different bank accounts for every one of those. So we end up having a large number of bank accounts open right now at different banks. Both the auditor and the financial consultant have said it simply doesn't make sense with an operation your size. If we were a much larger organization, we had water and other utilities, sewer, all these other things that some municipalities deal with. It may make sense to have some of those actual separate bank accounts for things operating in and out of. But for us, it really just complicates things. So that's one of the first recommendations that I'm going to start to move on. So the reason I'm giving you these accounts at a glance is so that when I tell you next month, these are the funds that were moved here and there, you have some basis of understanding of where that's all coming from, where it is now, and what the new picture will look like. So just a couple things I was going to highlight on the two details I gave you. As I stated before, one is a report. It's the one that was printed. It looks like 1:59 p.m. if that helps in the top left.
Okay.
This is the report for the month of December and the year-to-date balance. And the other one, which is 7 pages long, is the one I'm going to refer to because it's actually more on what we should be speaking about tonight. And that's simply a matter of I forgot the fact that 12/31 was the end of quarter. So I went back and reprinted it with the end of quarter information. So the 6:25 p.m. report, which, yes, was shortly before the meeting tonight when I had that realization.
Right?
Yeah. Has the end of quarter. And then probably the more important line for what we're going to be moving toward is the available balance thing. You can see there's some large numbers in there. You look at the first section of revenue. We're still expecting almost $100,000 in state revenue share, that constitutional money we're supposed to get. There's, any numbers on there you can ask me questions about, but just real quickly, some other, expenses that might look out of line. We had an IT meeting, and we also did a cybersecurity assessment, and the results of that were both that what we knew already, we're just reaffirming that we have some serious needs to address hardware issues, both with server and a backup server, and that's the cybersecurity issue. And then a new laptop. So we started purchasing some of that equipment that was obviously first needed, and then we did that assessment, and I should be getting shortly two estimates for you of the one from our VC3, who is our IT service provider, has what I would consider to be a Cadillac plan of server replacement or moving to a cloud server. And then we had another expert come in and give us what I would say is more of the reasonable, the minivan or the sedan version, right?
The one we can afford.
The working man's car, right?
The Yugo version?
And there will be plus or minuses to both. We don't have that information yet, but I will share that with you.
Matt, one question about that. I know when we were talking about, when I was on an IT committee several years ago, we were talking about server replacement, and there was some question at that time about did we really need the server
Right.
or not? So I don't know if did they explain, exactly what we need the server for? What things do we
Well,
have to have it
so
for?
your
or
question
is
is-
there some way to maybe?
Right, but to continue my analogy, your question is apt, but it's the smart car version, right, that might even be more appropriate for us, is that a server doesn't necessarily, it provides functionalities that we don't need, and that's part of why the cloud server option may not be as savory to us, but all of that will be fleshed out in estimates, and I'll be prepared to give you, a recommendation moving forward once I get those estimates.
I mean,
I
I'm
would
an
have
IT
expected
guy
them by now,
myself, so
but
that's why.
you haven't heard
just
anything from
raising
them,
that.
have you, Tony?
No, I got a
Yeah.
hold of him last week, and I asked him about that 2-month thing that he pushed me out on.
Right.
Because I said, well, then the estimate you just gave me isn't gonna be good for anything, because, but he said, yeah, I'm working on it. Yeah,
Okay.
Mitch.
As you keep going down on that page, this is page 3, One of the things that jumped out to me is building inspections. We simply haven't had any, which is very strange, but just, that's the way it's gone. There has not been much building activity in the last 6 months in Ortonville for whatever reason. So you see things like a large number still outstanding there. The last one I was going to point out is page 4, you have park development. We still have a significant amount of money ready there. We have talked both about some first phase improvements for Crossman Park and some of the work being done in Heritage Park. So that's money that is, is going to be going toward that. So when we set that budget, of course, we don't set a budget for the month, what we expect to spend monthly allocations, right? Which is something I may try to move us toward for some of our planning for the year, where we know certain projects are going to go in certain months, so that we're not looking at this report going, oh, why are we so behind for the year, right? Of course, we can always clarify those things, but that helps. So we're still expecting enough revenue to cover the rest of the bills for the year. So I guess that's the short and good news of it, right?
That's the version we like.
Hallelujah.
You could have started with that.
I know, I apologize.
Really.
All right, so manager report. So since this is 2 meetings, so starting in November, just kidding. Oh, gosh. Everyone's looking at the clock all of a sudden.
No, we're good, we're
Matt, one
good.
other
We're
question
here
about
to
the
hear
budget
this.
workshop. Do you have the latest capital improvement plan? Because I think that'd be good to have on hand to look at the budget workshop.
I'm
too.
sure I do.
Yeah, because for me, if we end up with some money we didn't spend, and maybe some money, we could take a look also at what projects could we maybe bring forward from the capital improvement plan and get started on them earlier than we had planned for.
So in November, the quick things we had, the decision on the Narrow Road paving project to at least table it for now. That was based on discussion we had with the council. We got the financial consulting rolling, the wayfinding and signs project rolling again, where we have 2 signs now being fabricated. We have another 4 to 6 signs that are in the next phase. This was all stuff that you all budgeted for, and we're trying to get some of that money spent and get that moving. And actually DDA is helping on potentially finding some funds for wayfinding as well. I haven't had a chance yet to thank those of you from the council who participated in my Thanksgiving service event. We ended up serving about 155 people who were shut-ins and who would have been by themselves on Thanksgiving, and they got a great meal. And the contributions made by the members of this council mean the world to me, that you supported that thing that I do, and it means the world to the people who received it. So thank you for that. I'm not going to talk about Christmas in the Village. We've heard enough about how it was a great event. And I agree it was. I was super proud of that night. The holidays, we had tons of plowing going on. Somehow it was only that days of the holidays when we got snow.
Right, or on a weekend, a holiday or a weekend.
So the poor guys were working all night. And that just is what it is. But what that brought to my attention was, again, another bookkeeping item, is that there is a significant portion of the road money, the Act 51 money, that is earmarked for salaries and wages. It's intended to pay when they're doing snow and ice mitigation, that is an account that we have set up to reimburse. Well, I changed it so it pays directly. So now we're not carrying these weird balances and then at some point in the future going back and guessing. We're actually assigning minute to dollar right now.
So we don't have to use general fund money to pay
Correct.
the,
So the general fund money does not cover those salaries. It's going to come directly from. Now again, when we pool the cash, all that money's in the same account, so it really doesn't matter to the bank, and you kind of have to separate yourself from that financial world of saying BS&A and our other software is telling us where our money goes in this detailed report, but it's really all sitting in one kitty, or close to one kitty. Much
pot
fewer
with
kitties.
multiple
Yeah.
hoses
Much
coming out
closer
of
than
it.
it was.
Right. So that was an effective change. I also found out about many communities are paying hazard pay when their DPW people are out on the road. They're out in the cold. They're exposed to things. They're working on even cold patching and other asphalt things in the summer. And so I went and looked at the rates and what people are paying, and I moved our payroll system to be doing the same thing. So when they're working on those things that are paying from the roads, they get paid they get a hazard pay bump in their rate. So, and that's really just acknowledging the fact that they're doing dangerous work. They're out in the elements. It truly is a hazard pay, right? That's the point of that kind of thing. And so that's going to help from a budget standpoint offset. I mean, we're still paying that money, but it offsets it from coming out of the general fund anymore. So I went to the Oakland County Treasurer's Holiday Lunch and started connecting in with those people and meeting some people who, I can build some relationships and do some work with, which is great for however long I keep the treasurer role or move someone moving forward. There's a lot of good stuff going on there, a lot of good networking. Our holiday training event was a huge success. I know not everybody could make it. I know a lot of people thought it was just dinner, but it was a great training event where we talked about some of the things we're doing for the year and the next year.
I learned a lot.
And we will, I think we'll continue to do that because I think it was really a great opportunity.
it was wonderful.
For
I do too.
all these different groups that serve this community to get together and
I think it was
just
really
even
nice.
just fellowship and talking to each other.
And thank you for everyone that coordinated and helped bring us all together. That was greatly appreciated.
So in January, so far, I've actually been heavily involved in more of the DDA stuff in the Main Street, Oakland County. I'm getting more involved with what's going on and a better understanding what's going on there. So there's so much synergy between the two. Obviously, there's so many things we work on together. And so I'm really hopefully, I'm feeling like forging a deeper relationship with the leadership there and starting to dream together about some things that we can accomplish. And also committing to being as supportive as I can be, as we could be, to their efforts. Tax forms, W-2s, 1099s, W-3, the unemployment report, all that year-end stuff that I just learned how to do, I now learned how to do, and we've done it. So we're caught up. I got W-2s out on time. 1099s going out tomorrow, and our final filings are going to happen either tomorrow or Wednesday. So just wanted you to know that we're in good shape on all of those things. We're caught up on all the tax withholding. The year is closed out, all that fun stuff. And it has been fun stuff. We're also working on a major office cleanout project. That back closet is now empty. Amber and Sue, and today Linda actually came in and helped with that as well. Have been amazing at going through and filling that shred bin. We've already emptied it a couple times, and they're just as we thought. We're not shredding important things. There's just a lot of things that there was a whole
To a box to say, look for shred.
right. Yes, there were boxes that were labeled, shred in 2018 or shred in
Absolutely.
1997 or whatever. So we
Yeah.
figured that box had already been sorted through.
So I do have a question though. Amber, are you, the booklet that I printed out for you of how long you have to retain documents, when you can, blah, blah, are you
Of course.
adding to that? And
No, I'm going right off of what the state says I have to hold on to as clerk.
that's the
Building.
booklet that I gave you, that's exactly what I'm asking.
The retention schedule is
Yeah,
what
thank
is
you.
being used, but frankly, we haven't even got to that point with a lot of it yet because we're so much older than that. We're looking at historical documents and other things, especially, it's more sensitive with the building documents.
Yes,
Some of
it
them
is.
we have to keep in perpetuity, and so
you do.
that's where Amber's leading the charge right now, identifying that stuff, and then we're figuring out how to organize it better and where it might be stored.
Hopefully, if
Yeah.
you can clean out the other stuff that we don't have to keep in perpetuity, then when we need to find one of those documents where somebody said, oh, I had a variance back in 1990, you can actually find it.
And then we're going to decide if it's worth digitizing all that
Yeah.
stuff too, which most municipalities have done. I
Yes.
shouldn't say most because I clearly don't know that, but I think I get the impression that many of them have done that.
I
So
think it's a
Many probably
valuable way to go.
And then you
Yeah,
can serve it.
then you don't have to worry about the storage. We did have a high school student come in for a couple summers and help just with the DOD documents. That's how we got those on DOD, our agendas and whatnot. That's what they would do
Yep.
all day. It was great.
And my thought initially was to go for documents that need to be kept, either that are being kept for certain reasons. Either if it's a year's reports that have to be kept, then I would purchase a external hard drive, save that. Those scans all save onto that hard drive. Now that hard drive is what we're keeping instead of the 3 or 4 bankers boxes full of paper. One idea, but again, we're still working on identifying what all is in there.
I
So.
want to have a backup of
So
that,
that
so
backup.
that, to a secure place, probably backup in cloud would be best. But that's what we're paying, what are they called now?
VC3.
VC3? That's what we're paying them for, is to advise us how to make sure we have that security and the backups and everything we need.
Right.
The cloud is nice. 'Cause it's just-
There is a federal lawsuit that's been filed against many members of the township and myself, just to make you aware. This is I'm being recorded. This is a resident of Brandon Township who believes there's an ordinance regarding fences that is unconstitutional and is being enforced unconstitutionally against her. For whatever reason, this person has decided that I have something to do with it and has not only named me in a federal suit, but has put my personal home address on all the filings. Everybody else got the luxury of having the Brandon Township office listed as their address, but since I don't work for Brandon Township, apparently this person had to do some web sleuthing and find out my personal address. So
is it against the township or the
Yes.
village?
the township and me, including me, because
But you're not, is
this
the
is correct, but these things
home-
don't matter when you file a lawsuit.
Okay, is
Yeah,
the
they can name
home
anybody
in
they
the
want.
township
Yes.
or the village? Okay.
So I, just so you're aware, am considering a countersuing on 3 points, personally. This wouldn't be anything to do with my role here. I have not yet asked the question, but the township must have legal counsel going on to answer no matter what the basis seems for these kind of claims, they have to answer them. And so I need to consult with them, find out who that is, and make sure they get me removed without me incurring any expense to defend myself.
Right.
I assume if I did have to incur expense, since it's in my official capacity, that would be something the village would pay for. I'm hoping that doesn't have to come around because I'm an innocent victim in this. I certainly don't want to drag the village into it.
I hear
But
ya.
I just need to give you that information. Sometime off the record, I'll share the story about the funnier parts of it, but
Yes.
not appropriate for now.
All right.
It is ostensibly ongoing litigation, so it wouldn't be appropriate to be commenting on it. I very much continue to appreciate the support I've gotten from all of you. The month of December was funky, right? We were only open a few days here and there, and it was tough to really have a groove going on. But in January, we've really picked things up and gotten running again. So much of that is a credit to my administrative assistant, Sue, who has really taken more off my plate than I expected someone to do as quickly as she's done. And her and Amber both deserve a lot of credit for that kind of tag team of making my life so much easier so that I can start to focus more and more each day on the things I'm actually responsible for, which I know no one here would complain about. So we really are getting a lot done with our little team, which is great. There's a lot of progress being made. I have been promising for a few months. I gave you a deadline that by the end of the year I thought we'd have systems in place, and I think we met that goal. As I continue to dig into things, I continue to find more and more worms under every rock. So it keeps going, but we're at a point where we're running well, and now it's about tweaking and making things much better. So that's where we're at on that. But I do appreciate the support, the communication, the passion that you guys have all brought about the causes you're on or the committees you're on. As I kind of work to implement what I call a servant culture, I think it's so important that we recognize ourselves in our office as servants of the public, and I know all of you recognize that. So how can we be more transparent and open and make it clear to people that that's our culture, that's who we are, that's who we're trying to be? How can we make their experience better? And all of that stuff. The support that I get in that goes a long way. And that's all I have.
I love that, though. Thank you.
Yeah, nice report.
You don't know how good it makes me to feel to hear how things are going well with all the staff, and you guys are working like a well-oiled team. I love that.
Yeah.
Makes us all feel good there, Larry.
It does.
Okay, on to the next item.
Ryan,
To adjourn.
support.
Okay, any discussion? There isn't any. All those in favor?
Aye.
At 8:27 or 8:28?